Hey traders, this is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group with your end of day recap for Monday. And what a day for equities today. S&P up 80 basis points today. Qs were the big leader today at 1.7%, and small caps pretty good over there as well, up three quarters of a percent. It was basically risk on across the board today, and we're going to talk about how that really made sense. But first indication was when futures opened up last night. They opened up about up 20 basis points, and Nasdaq futures were up 40 basis points because overnight markets were moving really well. Nikkei up 60 basis points. Hang Seng, which is China, up 1.1%, and also local Chinese shares also up strong. But there was, if you go through every market, it was strong. Same thing with European markets as well. Up for the second day in a row. The DAX was up over 1%. So we kind of knew coming into today that things were looking pretty good. We held the gains and rallied throughout the day. So why did we do this, or what was the reasoning? I was listening to CNBC earlier, and everybody's kind of dumbfounded. They're like, oh well, there's not that much volume. This is all basically what we talked about last week. Last week there was a major index rebalance going on across the S&P and Nasdaq as well. This happens every quarter, as well as quadruple witching. So a lot of people, like today, I noticed a lot of people were looking at the volume on Friday, in certain things like Apple. Apple was very heavy to sell on Friday. It was very heavy to sell for the S&P rebalance. This is known across portfolio desks, across Wall Street, Delta One desks. There was a major sell trade that had to be done for Apple last week. Why? Again, because the benchmark indices, they reweight themselves once every quarter. So if names have run up really large, over the last quarter, they have to be sold to put back to the right benchmark in the S&P. It's just the mechanics about how they reset, and this happens on the third Friday of every quarter. So March, so DECE, March, June. So we really saw a lot of these, some of the best performers held down. Why? Because they have to be sold, and we saw some of the worst performers in the indices rally a bit last week. So it's not, I know a lot of people were talking about rotation. It's just an index rebalance. So really, you had a very big chance to buy the dip last week. That's what we did at Tribeca Trade Group. Put on a lot of trades. Didn't put a ton of size on, but just kind of was picky, just like we normally are, and really look for the right setups. So we talked about it in last week's newsletter as well. You could see what we kind of highlight in SMH, the semis, which were down. I saw a couple people talking about this on Twitter, and they're like, "Oh my God, they're down from the highs. They're down 8% from the highs. The semiconductors." Well, yeah, they got majorly overbought. You could see from our weekend newsletter, how extended they were above the 50-day moving average, and you could see every time the semiconductors come in and to the 50-day moving average, you don't know how long you never know how long the trend is going to last. We don't have a crystal ball. Nobody has a crystal ball and is going to tell me how long the trend's going to last. But when we come into support, it is a great place to buy. There's no better place, really. I mean, what are you going to do? Buy up here as we continue to grind higher? Or when you get a chance to buy the dip, which everybody always says that they want to, what did you do? At Tribeca Trade Group, what we did was we bought the dip, and we had a really nice day today. And this was the situation also in the Chinese internets. We talked about a great tradable setup. So last week we went long a couple of the Chinese internet names. I know some traders went long Baba. I went long JD.com. Those trades really worked out very well. I have a whole video that I shot on going long JD on support. So right on that 50-day moving average. I actually, probably a little bit late. I put this trade on. I started a trade this morning in the KWEB ETF, the China Internet name. This is one of my favorite things, and I've talked about this now multiple times. But when you've got a really strong group, such as the China Internet companies, which are up 40% year to date, when they pull back and they pull back into support, it is a great place to put on either put on a position, add to a position, and that's what we did. So really, really nice gains. Had a couple nice gains in Google as well today. Took some profits in Google. I still remain long a little bit of Amazon after last week. Today's unusual option activity or aggressive option activity that we could see. First hour or so, we saw some interesting trades. We saw the hotels, a couple of the hotel names or travel names get bought again. Some Feb calls traded in Hyatt, some ILG calls, which there was a rumor last night that they're putting themselves up for sale. We saw a nice call buyer versus a put sale, so bull risk reversal and SFM. We saw a little bit more buying going on in some of the names that just got taken to the woodshed on Friday with the Whole Foods Amazon deal, which I don't really think they should. I get Costco and I understand some of the grocers really selling off hard, but Dollar Tree and Dollar Gen. So we saw a nice big block of Dollar Tree July 72 and a half calls. We also tried selling a put spread today in Costco after a couple days and a couple downgrades in that name, thinking that it may be a little the sell-off may be a little bit overdone. We saw a small call buyer in that name as well. Baba calls right off the bat. Baba's, just like I have up the chart of these names. Um, not even that much of a dip last week. Just maybe a tiny bit of a dip last week. But this name is strong and was up $4 today. A couple of the chip names. So I didn't even get to the biggest performer of the day, which I'll get to. But the chip name's very strong, up 1.7%. So we talked about that in the newsletter. The support and a nice bounce off of support. So they were up very nicely. Names like, if we go to the movers of SMH, you could see Micron was up 4.4%. A name that we've just been seeing continuous flow, continuous bullish option flow. And that name AMD was also up 4%, and then Nvidia was just managed to continue to chug higher as well today. Some really nice plays. We saw some weekly Starbucks calls today. Starbucks, on my radar because it was down, 6 or 7 days in a row. And then kind of bottomed out here right at support at this bottom of value. So we played this today for a nice trade today, up 1.2%. I played this as a day trade and then actually rolled some into a July call spread. So really nice. Got into that for 28 cents. Was actually able to hit a target in the weekly calls around 40 cents. So not a bad little trade for a day trade today. And then I've got a piece on for a little bit of an extended move. eBay also saw some nice calls. I did not take that trade today. I was dealing with days like this when we're up huge and you've kind of positioned yourself correctly, and the market is up. The Qs are up 1.5%. I could not take every trade. I'm more concerned with taking exits and getting out of positions and taking profits on a nice day like this. So that was the major story. And then biotech was really where it was at today. We also put this in the newsletter this week. You can see I've got a dotted line there looking for a breakout in biotech. So we're now moving above resistance. Really nice move today on the back of Clovis, but kind of looked like it was gearing up to pop. It's reached this level a couple times in the last 3 or 4 months, and you got a formal breakout here today on nice volume today in biotech. There was a couple other sectors that were pretty strong. Robotics were strong. That's the Robo ETF up 1.3%. All in all, breadth very, very strong. Names that didn't perform. Sorry, it's starting to rain outside. I've got my windows open. Names that didn't perform. It was basically the risk off. Gold was down 75 basis points. Bonds fell a little bit today, down 15 basis points. Gold miners down 1.6. Telecom, utilities also finished down. So a pure risk on day across the board. Just another visualization I can give you for what happened with the S&P rebalance last week. A lot of people were looking at Exxon because of the volume on Friday, which was here. Note that this volume again is all attributable to the S&P rebalance. So you could see it fading right at the 200-day moving average. So these names, I think you want to watch them, but I really don't want to own these until they get firmly above. Chevron, same thing. Chevron a little bit better, but still kind of ugly. We'll see if it can maintain above that 200-day moving average. So that's it for today's video. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow in the trading room early. We start our trading room every day, 8:45. We go over all of the setups that kind of get us ready for the trading day, to get us ready to take trades, to exit trades. We also go over all the upgrades and downgrades of the day. Everything that kind of comes out in the morning, we go over pre-market 45 minutes before the open. So yeah, you could join us at tribecatradegroup.com. Thanks very much.